5 million shillings for basic wages for temporary employees.
Wait.
Yes.
Okay, I get the backing behind the
that must be around 19 years ago.
Yeah.
So ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has been allocated 41.9 million shillings in pension benefits that include cash for his ride, complete with maintenance costs. Now, the allocation is courtesy of the 2 months he served as vice president towards the end of the late president
the shortest serving VP
in 2002. Yes.
Yes.
So the second supplementary budget estimate seen by the Star newspaper here.
Yeah.
It says that Kenyans will now pay salaries for temporary staff attached to Musalia. Now, the supplementary budget is due for debate at the National Assembly on Tuesday afternoon. That is today. So
attached to Musalia back then?
Way back then.
Okay.
Yes. The moment he was the vice president for 2 months, for 1.9 million shillings. So the former vice president, in the new allocation for the year ending June 2022, will be provided with 2.5 million shillings for basic wages for temporary employees. He will also get 20 million shillings for his insurance cover and 16 million shillings for the purchase of vehicles and other transport equipment. The Treasury, in the second supplementary estimate, will also give Musalia Mudavadi 2 million shillings for routine maintenance of the vehicles and 1.3 million shillings for fuel, oil and lubricants. So, now, retired VPs are also entitled to a 4-wheel drive vehicles with an engine capacity not exceeding 3,000 cc, replaceable once every 4 years. And the mass continue, goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
Hey, 19 years later.
Yes.
And my question goes to looking at that figure. Are they valuing it with the value of the shilling back then or now?
That should be a very good question that you should ask the supplementary budget and the committee in parliament. Yeah.
Hey.
41.9 million shillings. That is 42 million.
In essence.
In essence. Yeah.
For 2 months.
Yes.
How much do you earn in 2 months?
Hello. Hello.
Our viewers, kindly, that goes out to you.
Yes, and
but where?
Anyway, so talk of money and
they say Kenya is broke. How?
Exactly. And that's why I think some of us, some of the politicians out there are angling for these kind of particular jobs. I mean, it's just, somebody would say that Victor would venture into politics today. You only have, a simple vehicle running around, but after 2-3 weeks, you have a 4x4.
Man.
Anyway, so do we go for our roads right now? All right, very nice. So talk of money and talk of figures. Let's talk about Auditor flags 252 million shillings low-cost choppers. It was, it's almost obvious that where money is involved in Kenya, a scandal is always abound. This is not good. All right. So Gong, who is the Auditor General, queries use of direct procurement to source aircraft for pest surveillance. All right. So that is what's happening, and this is Kenya for us, and Kenya is our business. As they say, the Crops Department in the Ministry of Agriculture irregularly hired helicopters on 2 separate contracts for 252 million shillings. That is according to Auditor General Nancy Gathungo. In the first contract, the department hired the helicopters for local surveillance services in Isiolo, Marsabit, Nakuru, Eldoret and Kerio Valley regions at 103 million shillings. Jen.
We never have a scandal that is not in the millions and billions. At least we haven't had billions from that particular case. But for now, let's have a quick look at the roads. Doreen.
Right. Actually, you're having a very good conversation. And that question that you asked, Jane, how much do you get in a month? All right, so this is how we are looking at Gong Road this morning. It's actually the phase 3. So let me just run you quickly from when the project began. This is phase 1 of Gong Road, beginning from the Kenya National Library all the way to Prestige Plaza. This project was commissioned in 2016 and the first phase was completed by 2017, already opened up to the public. The second phase, beginning from Prestige Plaza all the way to Dagoretti, also was completed by 2019 and already opened up to the public. So what they're trying to finish up is the third phase, which I'll show you the images later. But this is actually how phase 1 and also slightly bit of phase 2, this is how it is looking like. This road didn't look like this then before. So what they did was expand this specific route from a single carriage road to a dual carriage road, and part of what was inclusive was what I call during the first link, that is an unmotorized transport system, inclusive of pedestrian walkways as well as cyclist lanes. So also what you can just pick from this particular route is that is what was put in place, and at least to make it easy for pedestrians, because initially they would use the same road being used by both vehicles, I mean public as well as private. So what also is just that has just remained on this particular route is the installation of footbridges, because the same road would record high number of death cases simply because the pedestrians again would cross over from one side of the road to the other side of the road, just because I mean after expansion that still is lacking. And these 3 footbridges have already been designated at various places. One is supposed to be at Kenyatta Hospital, the other one around Coptic, which is just around this particular route as you head over to the other side of Gong Road. Also, it was inclusive of traffic lights as well as traffic signals, at least to reduce on the mugging cases that were being recorded around this specific area. So this is how phase 1 looks like, as well as just a section of phase 2, beginning, like I mentioned, from the Kenya National Library to Prestige Plaza. Phase 2 from Prestige all the way to Dagoretti, expansion from a single to a dual carriage road. And also why they really expanded, aside from just reduction of the traffic flow, is also to ensure that they can demarcate the same route to put in place the bus rapid transit system, which is also what we are seeing as in terms of an ongoing road construction project along Thika Superhighway. So this is just one of the things that they're trying to do, at least on major roads, just to ensure that they also have the BRT system put in place. So again, before we get to look at phase 3, a quick look on the traffic just to try and see if at all things have changed or is the same as how it was. You can remember that earlier on, at least around that area, which is from phase 1 all the way up until phase 2, which is from Kenya National Library all the way to around Prestige there, at least it was moving at a very fast pace, barely any kind of heavy kind of traffic, in as much as it had just begun to slightly build up. And right now things have changed altogether, moving at a very fast pace. That's why you're seeing that green color there, a clear indicator of no traffic at all. So again, it also means for our viewers coming from those areas which I mentioned earlier, that is from around areas of perhaps Ngumo, Kenyatta, Langata as well, if at all you're using this particular route coming all the way to the city center, or even areas around Gong coming to the CBD, intending to use this same route, this is just the best time for you to do that, because in as much as there's a bit of a traffic just slightly past the Kenya National Library coming all the way through, it's a manageable kind of traffic altogether, just on a small section where it's really heavy kind of traffic moving at a very slow pace. And again, also on that section, it is specific to that lane that is coming to the city center, just on that section there before you get to the library on that particular area. As you leave the Kenya National Library coming all the way via Gong Road all through past the hospital road, that is all the way from Upper Hill, coming all through the same route as you head over to Gong Road via the city mortuary roundabout, and also as you get to branch off to Mbagathi Way heading over to Valley Road on that section, moving at a very fast pace, no traffic at all. So it also means for our viewers perhaps coming from these sections, if at all you're heading over to your businesses, any kind of activities, then this is again the best time for you to do that. This is where again we're seeing that green color there. So right now we're going to take a very short break, but when you return we continue with more of what is in the headlines, as well as I give you a sneak peek of that third phase of Gong Road.
What does this number mean to you? just a number. To us, it means freshness, boldness, vibrancy, and heritage. That's why at KBC Channel 1, we make it easier for you to pop up your family entertainment to a fresh, exciting, and colorful bouquet.
Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Kuna vitu zingine sio bazu true, kama kuchokoza dem sio bazu true.
Well, Mr. Yu, this is a travel visa. This doesn't allow you to work in the United States. By law, you're going to receive a fine, and you can no longer stay in this country.
It's called strategy. Not playing dirty. Dirty? I don't think so.
Mr. Hugo, are you sure? Absolutely sure you want a jury trial?
One last chance. He's asking if you're sure.
Kuwa Bazu True. Stop gender-based violence.
This week on the season premiere of Africa's hottest new show, Surura, we take you on a safari in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Get your adrenaline pumping and revving to go, and if that's not enough, we take you on a tour of what could possibly be the most photographed home in Africa. It's simply inspiring. That's all coming right up on Surura. Find your adventure, only on KBC.
There we are.
Yes, Jen is checking some message here.
Yes.
That ametumiwa na her former
Victor utachoma.
No, her former high school teacher, English teacher. Amesemaje that you are good. I mean, she's still appreciating how hey, huyu teacher amekusifu.
unachoma.
Amesemaje?
Hata nisisome hiyo, nisome ya West. Anasema ko tuned in from Westlands. Thank you for tuning in. Caxton, those who are retweeting our post, thank you so much for checking in. Remember, we are using the hashtag GoodMorningKenya on Twitter, at Victor Olo, at Jane Wamboi, Nakalaston Ketu, at Dorina Range, and of course our official station handle at KBC Channel 1 News is how you can find our official station handle both on Twitter and on Facebook. We now continue with In the Headlines, and I want to look at this particular story here. This is the story that is on page, let me see. Yes, here we go. It's on page 8 of the Daily Nation, and it's a story of a man who killed his cousin 5 years ago, actually 6 years ago, now gets a suspended sentence of 5 years. So this is the story, the case of one 33-year-old, what is his name? Mr. Karanja. No, Karanja is the deceased. Let me try and get his name. Dominic Karanja, yes, they are related because he killed the cousin. Dominic Karanja, 33 years old, father of 2, was found guilty of manslaughter after killing Peter Moiruri on the night of September 23rd through to 24th in 2015 at Gashororo in Juja in Kiambu County. He had been in remand for a year but was later released on a bail, and his case was concluded yesterday. So looking at this particular story is that this man, Dominic, strangled his 19-year-old cousin because he allegedly tried to seduce his wife. It is reported that on the fateful night, Karanja did come home a bit intoxicated with another cousin and proceeded to seduce his wife, Dominic's wife, who raised alarm and tried to run towards their house. A commotion that brought Dominic outside the house, and he met his wife running towards him, and that's when she told him that their cousin was trying to seduce him and be inappropriate with her. And to this, Karanja reacted by attempting to punish him for his inappropriate behavior. He, in a spate of anger, tried to strangle him rather, and later off disposed the body in an abandoned quarry. Once this case was concluded yesterday, according to the words of Justice Mary Kasango, she ruled that Karanja was provoked and did not plan to kill his cousin. Basically, it was a premeditated murder, and therefore issued a suspended 5-year sentence. And what that basically means is that he will not be imprisoned, but he will be out on condition that he maintains good conduct for the next 5 years. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I really don't know how to react to that. We'll just leave it at that.
Let me help you in for you to take a breather. And now I have the Standard with me here, and the Standard on the front page of the Standard. Which way BBI? Big question. The big battle starts this morning. The stage is set. The players have taken their positions, and the referees are at hand to determine what could be the mother of all court battles this year. That story continues in the Standard newspaper. And of course, we have got some of the best legal minds. We have got James Orengo. We have got Professor Githu Miga, we have got Nelson Harvey, we have got, Joe Haminwa, and many more who are going to be arguing their case starting this morning through to Friday. So, and of course, the case on BBI begins right now. Okay, accuracy of Kenya's HIV test queried. In the Star, I also gave you that story, and of course, it's the story of 2 women and HIV test gone awry. State facilities in a sport as justice is sought. Now, they want the court to find that the government facilities violated their right to care and subjected them to trauma. And this began all the way in 2016. So that is there, and of course, now the government will have to test the accuracy of the HIV kits under the under the supply and of the government. Reveal the names of COVID-19 millionaires now, IMF tells Kenya. And of course, this is one of the international lenders. We talked about IMF giving Kenya some good money to curb coronavirus. And now, it's now coming out that they're asking Kenya to allocate and name the COVID-19 millionaires. Now, IMF wants the names of owners of companies that won KEMSA tenders published in the Public Procurement Information Portal. Wow. Talk of killing our credibility and trust. Now, Kenya has until tomorrow midnight to reveal the names of owners of companies that benefited from the controversial 7.8 billion shillings KEMSA scandal. Now, this ultimatum was given by the International Monetary Fund, that is IMF, which also wants the government to lay bare the owners of the companies that were contracted by the Kenya Medical and Supply Authority, that is KEMSA, as part of an agreement they struck in the ongoing 256 billion program. So, yeah. So until tomorrow, Kenya, you have that tomorrow midnight to name the COVID-19 millionaires. Now, the government says that brace yourself for increased flu. That's according to health experts. And the expected respiratory disease include asthma, pneumonia, flu, and common cold. And I think, Jen, this is it's good to mention that you know, when such things do happen, right now we have coronaviruses here. The stigma when somebody just has, contracts the normal flu because of the cold season. Right now it's cold, and around kids are most vulnerable right now. Yes. Or even us who wake up very early in the morning, you can attract certain cold. But the person sitting next to you will feel like, the moment you sneeze a bit, corona, it's now the health experts have said that the cold season is here, and it's going to, to extend a little bit. So expect more cold season, and of course the flu. We have pneumonia, asthma, and common cold. But honestly, that is also a fear that I have, and especially if you use public service vehicles and you get into one and you see a number of people without their masks and you hear somebody sneeze, unatafutanga hiyo sneeze imetoka pande gani, you adjust your mask, you open the windows. There is that fear that comes with the unknown, and especially now with COVID-19. But then again, rightfully so, kids are super spreaders. They spread common colds as though they're goody giving out. So if parents can attest to this, when schools open, you can be sure the first month, one of you will get a cold from one of your children. And the funny thing is, most of the children don't get this cold as such. They just spread it to you and your loved ones as though it's goody. But as per the experts, it's expected. So don't be too alarmed in as much as COVID is here. Just put on your masks. It goes a long way in helping even with the prevention. But then looking at common colds, there were stats that indicated since we started putting on masks, common colds haven't been as rampant as they were before. There's a reduction. There has been a great reduction when it comes to common colds amid this pandemic. So masks are doing us good. And speaking of COVID-19, Kakamega is in a state of crisis, as now patients are left to bring their own oxygen tanks, cylinders. So there is an acute shortage at Kakamega County Kakamega County General Teaching and Referral Hospital, and now the relatives of the patients are being forced to carry their own cylinders in an effort to save their loved ones. Now, according to an insider at the facility, last week they reported that 6 families were asked to bring oxygen cylinders to, so that their loved ones could be admitted, and pointing to the crisis of the crisis in the Lake region, where health facilities are running out of oxygen. And out of these 6 families, only 1 family was able to secure an oxygen cylinder to save the life of their loved one. Those who are unable to find oxygen cylinders, they are forced to turn to other health facilities. And
There's also a source who said that there was a COVID-19 patient that died while waiting to get a bed at the hospital's isolation center. Another source also raised concern over the testing kits at the referral hospital, saying they are to expire next month, man. The intensive care unit only has 3 beds that have oxygen supply, and mind you, this isolation center has the capacity to hold 20 patients, including 7 who are on supplementary oxygen and 2 on ventilator support. That is the state of COVID-19 in Kakamega County. So when you see this continuous messages to just put on your mask, sanitize your hands as much as you can, and observe that social distance, it goes a long way in helping prevent such crises that we are clearly seeing in Kakamega. Vic.
All right. Okay. So that story on BBI, all eyes on the 7 appellate judges who will determine mother of all court battles. Of course, we have got Senior Counsel Gatonyo Waweru, who is leading President Uhuru Kenyatta's appeal. We have got Daniel Musinga. We have got Kairu Gatembo. We have got Roslyn Nambuye, Fatuma Sichale. We have got Hannah Okwengu. We have got Francis Tuyot and Patrick Kiage, a 7-judge bench who is going to, to listen to the BBI appeal, which has completely drawn the creme de la creme in the legal profession, with the Senior Counsel expected to square it out with young, enterprising lawyers. So it will be interesting to see how it's going to turn out today from 9 until Friday. Okay, so that is the case of the Building Bridges initiative. Of course, we will be tackling that in the next hour. And of course, talk of court issues. Now, CJ wants courts to open up to 9 p.m. to clear cases. Now, the CJ says that the courts should come up with innovative ways to deal with delays. And it says that the courts across the country will soon start to operate up to 9 p.m. if a proposal by the Chief Justice Martha Koome is adopted. Now, the CJ said that the judiciary and courts will have to go a radical change, which includes extending the time they are open to deal with backlog of cases. So she was speaking yesterday during an annual symposium for tribunals in Mombasa. All right, so that is something to look towards too. Again, there's a story here why the hustler narrative has gained traction in central Kenya. All right, until a convincing counter-narrative to hustler dynasty discourage is developed and propagated, the current one will keep getting more adherents, and Mount Kenya unique history and challenges have offered it a fertile ground to take foot. That is a profile story there, and you cannot miss to take a look at that particular story in the Standard newspaper. Now, we have got a new boss, who is Collins Oyu. That is the new Kenya National Union of Teachers Secretary General, who says that they shall push for more pay in teachers' new CBA. Now, TSC invites NAT and KUPPET leaders to a meeting to discuss the new CBA, which is expected to run from 2021 to 2026. Negotiations for teachers' salaries hike begin today at the current collective bargaining agreement, that is CBA, that lapses tomorrow. After months of failed talks, the Teacher Service Commission has invited both the Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, that is KUPPET leaders, to a meeting with a clear agenda of starting discussions on a new agreement. Something good for the teachers. And of course, teachers, to hire TSC to hire 10,000 new teachers and promote others.
Yes, that story also finds its way on the back page of the Daily Nation. 9,900 plus teaching posts up for grabs, as well as a TSC calling teachers to pay talks as just the day after Sosion exits. And there's so much that people had to say on the socials looking at Sosion's exit. But looking at this, just to add on to what Victor has already said, there are 330,671 teachers on a TSC ATS's payroll, and the various unions have already presented their pay demands to the Commission. Once they are going to start the negotiations today, looking at the 2021 to 2025 CBA agreement. Now, let's look at this particular story as we bring this segment to a close. And this is what His Excellency Museveni had to say. So, looking at the crisis that the globe is undergoing in light of the COVID-19 vaccine, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has called out vaccine selfishness, quote unquote, in the world, but said it will wake up Africans to be self-sufficient. Okay? He goes on to say that Africa needs the raw materials to produce its own COVID-19 vaccines rather than donations from the developed nations. In his own words, he was quoted saying, "Africans are a disgrace to ourselves. Why do we have to depend on the outside for everything? This is a big shame for Africa." He was speaking to delegates when he was attending the World Health Summit this past Sunday. Museveni said countries across the continent need to stop waiting for vaccine donations and start manufacturing them locally. He went on to say that this selfishness in the world is also good in one way or the other. I like it because it wakes up Africans. It's a shame the whole of the African continent is just asleep, waiting to be saved by others, like it happened during the slave trade. End of quote. Museveni himself. This is a wake-up call to the African countries to start manufacturing their own COVID-19 vaccines and stop waiting from donations from the Western countries. And he has a point. Yeah. But Museveni, he never minces his words. But that brings us to a close of this segment. Mr. Director, do we have a quick look at the roads?
Let's take a look on our roads.
Let's take a look at our roads. D.
Right, and this is what I promised you earlier, phase 3 of construction of Gong Road. Actually, this is how it began. From Dagoretti Corner all the way to Karen. What Kura mentioned in February is that it will take at least a period of 3 months until they complete that area in which they hadn't completed. So it meant that around May it was supposed to be complete. So that also meant that at least at around late June or early July, we expect this phase 3 to be totally complete and opened up to the public. Like I mentioned, this beginning from Dagoretti Corner all the way to Karen. So this is actually how it was looking like when the construction process of this phase 3 began. Also still being expanded from a single carriage road to a dual carriage road. As of now, as we speak, this is at least a bit piece of how it is looking like. Also, this phase 3 will be inclusive of, again, pedestrian walkways as well as cyclist lanes, which is part of the non-motorized transport system. It will also be inclusive of traffic lights as well as traffic signals, just like what we've spotted on phase 1 as well as phase 2. If you can remember those images that I was just showing you earlier of phase 1 and phase 2 of construction of Gong Road, the same phase 3 will also have those traffic lights as well as the traffic signals. But one of the things that delayed the completion of this project was the moving of water pipes as well as the power lines, because they had to include the Kenya Power, at least to ensure that they move that in the right way. And also the other challenge that they experienced was the encroachment of traders. Now, if you're someone who uses Gong Road oftentimes, then you can really bear witness that is one of the biggest challenges, especially along this route. And not just for the contractors or those constructing this road, but even for pedestrians. What that simply means is that the business traders, especially the small scale as well as the medium scale business traders, and mostly those selling furniture, they would encroach mostly on those areas or the designated lanes for pedestrians, and even some would go up until to where the road was constructed. So that was one of the challenges that the contractors faced when it came to the completion of this particular route, or rather this specific phase, which is phase 3, beginning from Dagoretti Corner all the way to Karen. But at least what we are sure of is that they are now in the final stages of completely constructing this road, and we expect opening up of the same road from either late this month or early July. So again, In as much as they were expanding this road from a single carriage to a dual carriage road to make it easy for pedestrians, to make it easy for those using cars, could be public or private, at least reducing the traffic flow, the other thing that they're also trying to look into is the bus rapid transit system. If you can remember yesterday when we were looking at Thika Superhighway, we saw some sections of that road had been demarcated at least a bit to just ensure that when that BRT comes on well. And also this road, when they were expanding it, that was also in mind to have a proper place and ensure that they can also put that into place, the bus rapid transit system. That project has not yet started, but it's also part of the ongoing road works when it comes to Gong Road, as a road being constructed. And aside from that, just this section which we are looking at this morning will also have 5 footbridges. When we looked at the first and the second phase or the sections, we just saw 3 footbridges that had been designed or designated in different areas. Like I mentioned earlier, one is at Kenyatta Hospital, the other one is around Coptic Hospital. On this specific area, it will have 5 of them. They haven't quite put designated areas so far, but at least what we know is that it will have 5 footbridges. And again, that is just reduced on the number of death cases, because oftentimes when these roads are expanded, constructed, then it just means that sometimes pedestrians might not have a specific area or place at least to cross over from one side of the road to the other side of the road. So this is actually how it is coming along, and I wanted to show you how the project is coming along and also just give you a detailed brief of when we're expecting the opening of this particular route. In the next link-up segment, we'll try and look at the traffic flow on this route to try and see how this construction process is affecting the traffic, and also, the different other routes or areas that we can look as alternative for those plying this route, either going about their businesses or any other kind of activity. But for now, we take a very short break. When we return, plenty more of Good Morning Kenya, so stay with us.
All began. As the mother of broadcasting in Kenya, you can trust KBC to bring you authentic news and programs to your living room. As KBC, we take pride in our unrivaled heritage as Kenya's trusted national broadcaster. Commanding over 92% digital television signal coverage of our country, 23 radio services that cut across our entire language spectrum, a national, regional and international digital presence backed by the most experienced and top-notch broadcast professionals in the industry.
A very good evening to you.
The new look Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is truly ahead of the pack. Turn to the mother of broadcasting in Kenya for stories that resonate with our identity, our aspirations as a people united in purpose. Real stories of hard work, of passion, of creativity, of big dreams. Stories that cement our nationhood. Stories that bring us together as one. We take pride in our shared heritage and destiny. KBC, informing, educating and entertaining Kenyans as one nation. KBC, Kenya's listening, Kenya's watching.
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni, unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako, Tomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Well, Mr. Yu, this is a travel visa. This doesn't allow you to work in the United States. By law, you're going to receive a fine, and you can no longer stay in this country.
It's called strategy. Not playing dirty. Dirty? I don't think so.
Mr. Hugo, are you sure? Absolutely sure you want a jury trial?
One last chance. He's asking if you're sure.
Katika juhudi za kuhimiza mabadiliko ya tabia, Baraza la Kitaifa la Kudhibiti Ugonjwa wa Ukimwi likishirikiana na shirika la utangazaji la Kenya KBC litafanya vikao mubashara na wataalamu mbalimbali kutoka kaunti za Bomet na Meru siku ya Jumanne na Makueni siku ya Jumatano kuangazia masuala muhimu kwenye vita dhidi ya janga la ukimwi katika jamii.
Señorita, unachizisha bazenga. Señorita, fuga yako yanikoroga. Señorita,
Top Mashariki yani ndio imesha take over.
Sokio za nambongo ibeleko esomba esengonte. Sokio kufile lo mbongo nyoso.
Alafu kwenye video una vituko mwanangu wewe. Waje lakini
kama gani? Tena na ahidi nyumbani tarudi mapema.
Lazima ukuwe na ile kumbukumbu, umetokea wapi, nani kakushika mkono. So hata ukivimba uwezi vimbia mzazi.
This is KBC Channel 1 News, the home of a March to Life.
Well, Mr. Yu, this is a travel visa. This doesn't allow you to work in the United States. By law, you're going to receive a fine, and you can no longer stay in this country.
It's called strategy. Not playing dirty. Dirty? I don't think so.
Mr. Hugo, are you sure? Absolutely sure you want a jury trial?
One last chance. He's asking if you're sure.
de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Oh, that woman. I needed us to be alone so nobody can hear us. And for you to be comfortable, my darling.
Of course I love it. But the truth is I love it because I'm with you, Max.
There is no turning back. Do you understand, Lucrecia? It's over!
Quiero amar.
And welcome back. You are still watching Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. And of course, on Tuesdays, we usually have People in Politics. This is the only program that we discuss matters, politics, and how they affect you on a daily basis. Now, today, we are glad to have Gladys Boss Shole, who is the Uasin Gishu woman representative, as well as Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, who is nominated Member of Parliament under ANC Party. And just to start with you, Mheshimiwa Gladys, this is your first time to be here under this renovation. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful studio.
Right.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm always proud of KBC as our pioneer station.
Were you in Naivasha? Were you in Naivasha for the safari rally?
No, I wasn't.
But you watched?
I did watch. It was safer to watch it from television.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa Osotsi, you were here last week.
Yes.
How was the weekend?
Well, it was a fantastic weekend.
Yes.
I had time to visit my home county.
Good.
Vihiga County. And as you know, is one of the 13 counties which are on lockdown. So churches are completely shut. Funerals, the numbers are regulated. So really...
Are people following the protocol, the directive given by the government?
Well, yes, they are.
Yeah.
But it has a strain, economic strain on the people, because like markets have been shut. Really, it is really a big problem.
But all for the good.
All for the good, but keep on telling the government is that I think priority should be on vaccinating Kenyans. Because they brought only 1 million doses, and we're about 40 million Kenyans. So if you delay or you don't have a clear program on vaccination, then we will get into some kind of a cycle, and the problem will go on and on and on, and we will not be able to resolve the problem. Because people are continuing to die.
Exactly.
Businesses are shut.
And people are getting impatient.
And as you saw yesterday, the Euros, I was surprised
the citizens
they have
full.
allowed crowds in without the mask. It's because they have vaccinated their people. But here in Kenya, I don't know why we are not focusing on vaccination. If the issue is getting the vaccines, then Mutahi Kagwe should go for shuttle diplomacy to look for these vaccines, so that people are vaccinated, so that we are on the same level with what we saw in Euro 2020 on TV yesterday.
Mheshimiwa, what do you think about that? Because most of the western counties are affected, really.
Yes. I think I agree with Mheshimiwa Osotsi about lockdown is not a solution in itself. It's a temporary measure that should be taken to just control the pandemic. But really, in the long term, we should be going towards vaccinations of our people, so that we can open up the economy. Or else, if we keep locking down, we will end up having a collapsed economy. I mean, people must realize a collapsed economy is so bad. If anybody has been to Zimbabwe, people can't get petrol even if you have money. You can't buy food like rice even if you have money. It's a very painful process. Schools are closed, and because teachers are not being paid, or teachers can't even have the transport because there is no cars to take them to their workplaces. So it's such severe consequences that our first priority in Kenya now should be vaccination. That is the most important thing. And because if you vaccinate people, then you don't even have to worry about the cost of treatment. Yes, so lockdowns is not a solution. It should be a temporary
and
problem.
Perhaps most people down in those, the remote counties are feeling the pinch because the cash flow, somebody said that the cash flow in those particular areas are slightly slower as compared to Nairobi. All right.
Yeah, and I think an important thing for people to know is that even the way the vaccines have been rolled out hasn't been methodical enough. In other countries, it was clear. They said people up to this age, and they made sure they had cleared those people, and they had statistics of exactly who was there, and the country could tell. The minister would tell that out of the people within this age group that we wanted to vaccinate, so many have failed to be vaccinated, either because they've refused or they have other challenges, religious grounds, and so on. And then they would say, we are now moving to the next phase. In other countries, now they are going to high school students in Europe.
Yes.
So it's getting there. So we haven't had it methodical. If you look at when Mutahi Kagwe stands up, he doesn't really tell us how many people have been vaccinated, what's the reasons, and so on. So I think we need to step up as a government and take it as our #1 major issue.
Perhaps that would go a long way, because even kids, when they're coming out of school, they should be vaccinated in school before they come out for their holidays.
Yes.
Okay. So it's good to have you once again, and let's talk about get into it. We have the big battle starting today, and I know Mheshimiwa Osotsi was here last week, and he was quite so sure that BBI is going to sail through. That were your words, and you said, you are not worried about it. But with you, Mheshimiwa, starting today from your legal perspective, and you have been a crusader of anti-BBI from the word go.
Yes.
Why are you against BBI? So simple.
Yes. I think I'm not against BBI. To put it correctly, is I am pro the rule of law and changing the constitution using constitutional means. I believe in following the law. So if you look at every protest I had against BBI, I had a law backing it as to why I disagreed with the steps and the processes that they followed. And I think I was vindicated by if you watch my YouTube videos, I was vindicated by the High Court. And I think right now the battle going forward, even though my colleague here says that they have they are very sure that they're going to win, it's easy to say that. That is bravado. But I want you to tell me specifically the argument. Tell me how you're going to be able to argue that the basic structure doctrine, which has been in the Commonwealth since the 1960s and is a precedent around the Commonwealth, is going to be overturned by the Court of Appeal. Tell me how the evidence that reveals that the BBI was a two-man initiative, which evidence are you going to give me to show me that was a popular initiative? Because we have a Gazette notice signed by the President. So the thing is, and I'm saying this very cognizant of the fact that it's currently before the Court of Appeal, but remember, I'm allowed to discuss a case, provided I do not discuss the merits and demerits. But I'm basically saying, it's one thing to say, we are going to win, we have a great team. You know what? Even that great team that you have reads the same law that I read. Just the way I always said, sort of the comments I made about BBI is the same things the judges of the High Court said. But it's because we read the same law books, we read the same legal writings and scholarly works, we read the same text and the same law. Law is actually, I tell people, law is like math. 1 + 1 = 2. Except that in law it can be 2, 3 or 4. But even to maneuver which of the three answers takes away the decision. One other thing is that when people say we are going to overturn the decision of the Court of Appeal, it's a very simplistic way of putting it. Because remember, that ruling had 23 determinations. And you will have to overturn each of the 23 determinations one by one.
Right.
Even if you go, some people have gone to appeal, like for example, I think the President's lawyers have appealed on very specific points. Those are issues that they might succeed. But that doesn't change the fact that BBI was an unpopular was not a popular initiative and was unconstitutional. It may just clear the President on some of his actions that were declared unconstitutional. So it's not as simple as people put it.
Let me ask you, Mr. Osotsi, is it a bravado?
No, it's not a bravado. It's not a bravado. But I want to agree with you that it's going to be a huge contest because we can see the lawyers involved. There are some.
I think it's one of the newspapers.
Yes, this one.
Yes.
Some of the top lawyers in the country from both sides.
I'm missing actually.
Yeah, Gladys is missing. So it's going to be a big contest.
She said that she's missing from the list.
Yes.
When he says top lawyers, I tell him not all of them because I'm missing.
Yes. Okay. And also it's going to be a legal drama that people are going to be entertained with the argument, and I think I can liken it to the Supreme Court contest in 2013 and 2017, where we could see lawyers from both sides putting up very strong arguments. So in this case also we are going to put up see lawyers from both sides arguing with very strong facts.
Yes.
On our side as BBI supporters, I want to say that initially at the High Court, I think our side was not very keen on what was happening. The case was poorly managed, but I think now they are prepared properly to argue their points. As much as my colleague here, Gladys, is saying it's very difficult to overturn the ruling, I think there are a lot of issues in those rulings were very defective. For instance, when the judges appeared to be saying so and so can be a promoter and so cannot be a promoter, the Constitution does not explicitly provide that. The president is a Kenyan, just like you and me.
Yes.
He has the constitutional right to initiate a constitutional amendment process. He can be a promoter. But these judges were telling us that he cannot be a promoter. The judges were telling us that we cannot amend some parts of the Constitution.
Yes.
Even through referendum. So there are a lot of defective issues which I think our lawyers are going to capitalize on. And I'm hopeful that we are going to succeed.
Mheshimiwa says that it was not a popular initiative.
No. I think
it was a two-man show.
I think
referring to President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga.
No, I have a lot of respect to my colleague Gladys.
Yes.
You know, she's been the registrar of judiciary and she's been a lecturer, so she understands these laws. But I think she's talking more as a politician than a lawyer.
Oh,
because if you look at the process of BBI,
right?
First of all, we must understand where we started. It started with a handshake. What brought us into a handshake is because we had two key leaders fighting over the results of 2017 election, and the country was divided into two halves. So they needed to come together, and in their handshake we had an agreement, a 9-point agreement, which both of them signed. And that agreement is what triggered the BBI process. And the process, we had a task force which was properly processed, gazetted, which went around the country, collected views from Kenyans. Then they came, they gave a report. You remember we went to Bomas?
Yes.
And then Bomas 1, we went into validation sessions across the country. Though we saw a lot of drama with some politicians on the other side coming to cause drama, like in Meru, I was there, I saw the drama. And then now we came now to Bomas 2. Bomas 2, I remember issues were there. Even Deputy President raised issues. And most of the issues he raised were captured in the final document. You remember he raised the issues of judiciary, he raised the issues of police service commission, and many other issues. They were largely captured. And then the document was there, presented now to Kenyans to give their signatures.
Allow me to
Over
help
4
Mheshimiwa.
million, over 4 million Kenyans appended their signatures. Are we trying to say these 4 million Kenyans did not participate in the process? So this process was a popular initiative.
Yes.
If you look at it, and I'm sure our lawyers are going to argue out this issue very intensely. So I think my sister here, when he says the process was not a popular process,
initiative, yes.
I think he's arguing more as a politician than a lawyer.
Okay. First of all, I think it's good for me to give a correction. I tell myself I'm not a pure politician. I am a total public servant. I have served in all arms of government.
Absolutely.
And all my talk, everyone can bear me witness. I never speak on a political front. I have always spoken on the rule of law and fact. I've leveraged on my experience, both in the because I've worked in the legal sector, I've worked in the university, I have worked at the IEBC, I've worked at the judiciary, and now I'm in parliament. I think I never talk like a politician. That's why my statements are never just off the cuff.
Yes.
What my colleague here has done, he has actually made very good submissions to show that it's not a popular initiative. What he has said is that it started with 2 people talking and they came up with a 9-point agenda. Therein lies the flaw. Because that 9-point agenda should have been developed from the people. It should have been the people saying these are our 9 points that we have issued. It should have been generated from the ground, not from the top, and then it comes to us. What they did is 2 people decided, then they came to take processes to validate it. You understand?
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so it's the other way around. It could have been a popular initiative if the 9-point agenda had come from the people, and then now there would have been a task force to look into it. Then we come to bombers and so on.
But somebody argued that somebody had to initiate the
you
process.
don't ratify. In a referendum, you don't bring points, ask people to ratify it, and then say it's a popular initiative from the people. No. And remember, when we say that there are certain parts of the Constitution that cannot be amended, it means there are certain parts of the Constitution, they are called eternity clauses. Those clauses can only be amended in the same format in which they were put in the Constitution. So we did not use a 9-point agenda. We took 20 years of various forums in every location in Kenya. It was the most consultative constitution making process in the world. So if we want to make changes, we have to use the same methodology. And remember, this is not a precedent only set in Kenya. It started in the 1960s in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, went on to Germany, the UK, the US. It is a confirmed legal position and precedent in the Commonwealth. And then when you talk about saying that it was people came together because Kenya was divided, I think, let me tell you, politics is a competitive game. That's the democracy. So what happens is in every country there is a loser, but the losers don't go to the street. They don't try and protest. Look what Donald Trump tried to do in America. He was impeached. So the whole point is accepting a loss. Because what stops me that when I lose, I decide I'll cause mayhem until you shake my hand. So that is not a precedent. Politics is competitive and divided. Imagine if the person who you defeated in your constituency decided to go to the streets, ask for resignation of everybody in the county until you come out of office, or until you tell him, let's enter a coalition government. There is no such thing in a democracy. Let us make the statement that when he says that the team previously their team was unprepared, you must remember that the people who helped defend the case of BBI at the High Court was no less than the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya and the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. 2 very, very brilliant lawyers. They are the top lawyers in this country. I know Ghetto, I know Kihara Karaoke. I've had the occasion to work with them. They are no mean lawyers whatsoever. So you can't say they were unprepared. You cannot be Attorney General and go and say, I'm just going to make a joke about this case. No, they put their best foot forward, because I think if they didn't, you are actually saying that they actually offered poor legal services to the government of Kenya,
So did they
then
lie
they
to the
should be
government?
impeached.
Did they lie to the government?
No, they did a good job of trying to defend the case. Unfortunately, when you have a bad case, even if you're a good lawyer, there's nothing you can do about it.
Do lawyers
But I
lose
believe
cases?
that they put their best foot
Yes.
forward. And I think to say that they were unprepared is like saying that they failed to perform their duties and therefore should be impeached. And again, another thing is that to say that, oh, we didn't prepare in the first case, we are now going to be better prepared at the Court of Appeal. The thing is, whatever you argue at the Court of Appeal are the exact same grounds. You're not allowed to cover new ground or bring new evidence to the Court of Appeal. You basically must go to the... Remember, it is the petitioners who said these are our points for determination delivered before the court. The court then made a determination on each and every one of those points, and in fact gave reasons why they reached that decision, and they gave the law supporting their decision. When you go to the Court of Appeal, you're basically saying that the judges erred in interpreting the law in this manner, or accepting this fact because the fact was wrong, and so on. So that is actually, so you don't have time to do, your case is as good as the one that you put at the lower court, at the trial court. The court, you don't improve your case at the Court of Appeal. It is exactly the same case. And then,
just before we want to
I'm saying I do appreciate that they've gone to the Court of Appeal. And I will appreciate also if after the Court of Appeal, anyone wants to go to the Supreme Court. Why? As an academic lawyer, this for us is exciting. It's like World Cup for us. You know, it's a legal World Cup because it allows us to set a precedent and settle matters forever on certain issues. Because remember, Parliament makes the law. But then the court interprets the law. Because remember, not every explanation on the law can be placed by Parliament. But sometimes when the law is unclear, it's interpreted by the courts, and that interpretation by the courts becomes judge-made law. That's why when you hear the doctrine of basic structure, that doctrine is a precedent that has developed since the 1960s by interpretations of judges until it has become law. And remember, Kenya's law is not only what we have in our law books. Our law is also the pronouncements by the courts. That's why we are saying we are a common law system. Common law means we actually, a part of our law is precedents. And lastly, you remember that when you want to decide what is who can be a promoter for a popular initiative, parliamentary initiative, and so on, this could have been settled. And that's one of the things the court said is that there should have been a referendum law. If you remember, in 2010, Parliament had to pass a law to show the manner in which the referendum should be conducted. Up to how the symbols are developed. So similarly, we should have had a referendum law to tell us, a law to tell us the way you can develop a popular initiative, the way you can take signatures, and so on, if there was any changes in that. So we have those gaps, but I'm happy that it's coming before the court so that we can settle that law.
Mheshimiwa Sotsi, so many points have been raised here, and I know you'll also have your time to argue them one by one. But before then, can we just take a break, then we come back?
Before we take a break,
just 20 seconds. All right, 20 seconds,
before
please.
we take a break, one interesting issue she has brought up is that the handshake was two people, and therefore
we saw them
there
on
is
the
nothing
steps
popular
of
about that.
I
want to remind her that we had a similar handshake in 2007 that culminated into the 2010 constitution.
But there was there was a constitutional amendment by Parliament to support that handshake.
There was a handshake between Kibaki and Raila that culminated into 2010 constitution.
Which Parliament put in the law.
When she says that there is nothing popular about that, I remind her about 2007. And number two, when she says...
Do you agree that they amended the law to adopt the handshake? It was once the Kofi Annan team finished, then the matter was taken to Parliament. Parliament amended the constitution to accommodate a prime minister, a deputy prime minister, and so on. So that was accommodated through a parliamentary initiative. So it wasn't a handshake and gave out a 9-point agenda. It went directly to Parliament, so the law was followed in that case.
But even this, even in this case, the president has powers to appoint a task force. The two individuals, the two politicians, had supporters who were supporting them in the election, and they had almost half support us. So when she argues that that was not popular, I think our laws must take into account peace-building processes. And even the judges who made this decision, they should have taken into account that constitutional moments arise when we have a crisis. All over the world, even American Constitution. The process started as a result of war and many other things. Even in this country, it is because of post-election violence.
Before we have a crisis, already I have a crisis in my ears here. The director says that I should go for a break. We'll be right back, and when we come back, we've just started, and I told them, for politicians, 45 minutes or one is like a minute. We'll continue after this break. Stay with us.
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Kuna vitu zingine sio true, kama kuchokoza dem sio true. Señorita, unachizisha bazenga. Señorita, fuga yako yanikoroga. Señorita,
Top Mashariki, yani ndio imesha take over.
Sokio za mbongo ibeleko, esomba esengonte. Sokio kufile lo mbongo nyoso.
Alafu kwenye video na vituko mwanangu wewe, waje lakini
kama gani?
Tena na ahidi nyumbani tarudi mapema.
Lazima ukuwe na ile kumbukumbu, umetokea wapi, nani kakushika mkono. So hata ukivimba uwezi vimbia mzazi.
Nikiwa nawe naburuka kama ndege. Te amo.
Kuwa Bazutu. Stop gender-based violence.
As a righteous Lord and Master stretches out a heaven. The sins of the Father are visited from all.
I know there's certain things I usually explore, like having success and never worry about
What does this number mean to you? A pack leader? A winner? Or just a number? To us, it means freshness, boldness, vibrancy and heritage. That's why at KBC Channel 1, we make it easier for you to pop up your family entertainment to a fresh, exciting and colorful bouquet.
right, and welcome back. You are watching Good Morning Kenya. This is People and Politics, and with me I have got Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, nominated MP under ANC, and of course Uasin Gishu Woman Representative Gladys Boss Shulei. All right, so Mheshimiwa Osotsi, just 1 minute to finish up your statement on what we're discussing before we went on a break.
Well, I know my colleague Gladys is going to argue on the basis of Article 132.
Yes.
But I also want to remind her that Article 131, the authority of the president, if I may read from Constitution on my phone.
Yes.
It says, the president, if you look at 131(1)(1)(c), the president shall promote and enhance the unity of the nation. So really, that handshake and that engaging in BBI process is one of the things the president can do under Article 131. So when we are making a determination, a legal determination, we should not just focus on one article of the Constitution, but we also look at other articles of the Constitution. For example, when you read 132, look at 131, that gives the president the authority to enhance and promote national unity. And by engaging in the handshake and the BBI process, what the president was doing, he was basically promoting national unity. Yeah.
Okay.
So you cannot say the handshake was a two people thing, and the Kenyans were not involved. The president was elected by the people of Kenya.
Yes.
He has the authority because of the people of Kenya. And Article 131 gives him that power
to promote
and enhance national unity.
Okay, I think when you read the law, you can never read a line in isolation. So I would like to take him back to Article 1 of the Constitution, which says all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya, and shall be all power and authority shall be exercised on behalf of the people and in accordance to this Constitution. It doesn't say in accordance to how you feel or a handshake. No.
Yes.
It says in accordance to this Constitution. So when we talk about the authority of the president, remember we have already said all authority is exercised on behalf of the people.
Yes.
Or else the president can decide, in order to promote and enhance national unity, I'll chop the head of a guy who's messing up national
Just a minute,
unity. No, let me, I gave you a chance to speak. So you see, it is the law. Remember why we have constitutions. There was a time in history where kings and monarchs who decide they'll chop the head of such a person because he doesn't agree with his views. So are you saying that if today the president can say, I have decided to chop off somebody's head because he has refused, because I can protect human rights, or whatever it is. And if you see the overriding word throughout the Constitution is in accordance to this Constitution. Hence the reason why when the head of state takes office, he swears to protect, uphold, in Article 3, puts the onus on all of us as Kenyans, including you, to protect, uphold, and defend the Constitution of Kenya. And for him, it's even more special because he takes an oath of office at a specified time and specified date in public. On the behalf. That is why the one way you can impeach a president or a minister is and for the president to violate the Constitution. And remember, he was not exercising just authority out of nowhere. Because there is authority of the president, then there is functions of the president. When he appointed the BBI task force, he was going to Article 132. And it says, with the recommendation of the in accordance to this Constitution, there is no other place. The president has no power for himself as president. We have only elected him and made him president in order for him to exercise power in accordance to the Constitution. Even as commander-in-chief, remember one of the authorities he has is that he's a commander-in-chief. But he cannot declare war without the authority of parliament, because that's what the Constitution says. The Constitution says he must do it with the approval of Parliament.
Two weeks ago, you were quoted as saying that the whole BBI thing is dead and can never be resurrected.
Yes. I think this one is common sense. First of all, if we look at the timelines at the High Court, by the time they are done, it will get to a certain point. And the time will be late. If people go to the Court of Appeal, by Supreme Court, by the time we're done with the Supreme Court, believe me, it can take us up to February next year. Remember that one of the things that is in the BBI bill is preparation of, delimitation of boundaries. First of all, that one will fall immediately. And remember, nobody has gone to court to audit the bill, because when you audit the bill, you can go line by line which one is unconstitutional, which one should be struck off. No one has gone to court to do that. Unfortunately, that's a mistake they made, because they should have done that at the High Court. So in which case, even if a few parts are struck out or can't be put in, you have to go back to the 190 again, because any amendments to that bill should go back and start as a popular initiative in the amended form. Lastly, he mentioned that the Deputy President in Bomas went to Bomas and gave his own views of where he had challenges with the amendment bill. By that time, the task force had disbanded and had handed in its report. But for some reason, they made amendments, and he has admitted amendments were made, and we know amendments were made. So when you made those amendments at the behest of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, why didn't you go back? If it was a popular initiative, you should have gone back to the people and told them, this is what some new views we have got. What do you think? That means this document was a moving target that they could change whenever they wanted. If it is really belonged to the people, they should have gone to the people.
Let me just take her back before I answer that. You know, the problem of interpreting the Constitution by looking at one part of the Constitution and not the other is the problem now we are in now.
No, I didn't do that. I started from the
if you listen to Gladys talking, she only talked about Article 1 of the Constitution.
And Article 3.
But you never talked about Article 1, 2 of the Constitution that says the people may exercise their sovereign powers either directly
or indirectly
or through their democratically elected representative.
But not on the brain of the elected representative.
No,
the elected representative must follow the law.
Gladys, you had your time to talk. I never interrupted you. And then it goes ahead and says, under 3, that the sovereign powers under this Constitution is delegated to the following state organs, which shall perform their functions in accordance with this Constitution.
Yes, in accordance with this Constitution.
Parliament, B, the national executive and the executive structures in the counties, county government. So when you look at this, when they argue, they only argue on the basis of Article 1. They don't look at the other articles that gives elected leaders, including the president, the powers to perform the functions they are supposed to perform
in
on behalf of the people of Kenya. So that is where the problem is, and that is why we are saying some of the rulings that were given by the courts, the High Court, did not look at other very important articles of the Constitution. And it did also not look at wider issues like national interest, issues like peace building. For example, when we start questioning the handshake and say it is a two-people process, it never involved Kenyans, we are not looking at national building, peace building efforts. And I have said it before, that constitutional moments are not done during happy times. They are usually done during crisis moment. Globally, if you look at the history of constitutional making, even in this country, it is usually when we have problems in this country. Even the amendments to Article, the one that changed the country from one single party to multi-party, it was done by KANU delegates in Kasarani. When Moi said, chukua hiyo, and the next thing they amended the Constitution. We never questioned that. So what is wrong in two leaders who had gone through a very competitive process in 2017, and there was problems in this country, there was disunity in this country, there were going to be chaos in this country, coming together and saying, we want to offer solution. The solution is We have a problem with winner takes it all. We have a problem with our laws.
Yes.
Let's do something about it. And then you come much later to oppose that process for political reason. And I have always said that the BBI process, the biggest beneficiaries of BBI process are people who belong to UDA, where Gladys comes from.
Okay.
They were going to be the biggest beneficiary. Not even Raila Odinga. Not even Raila Odinga.
How?
I will tell you shortly when we get into the debate of coalition building.
Okay.
You are going to be the biggest beneficiaries of BBI process. Not even us.
Do you agree with that?
No, I
Not
don't
even
agree
us.
with that. I think for me, I want to just end this debate by saying the thread throughout the Constitution or any law in Kenya is that it is in accordance with this Constitution, in accordance to this Constitution. So even though the president can do anything, it is in accordance to the Constitution, not how he feels. Even peace building has to be in accordance to the Constitution, because then why have a Constitution?
Yes.
So for me, it's not even an argument that you want to have. That's why you have a Constitution in the first place. In fact, when the legislators are making law in Parliament, the first thing that the legal researchers in Parliament do is ensure that it's not unconstitutional. And we know how many laws have been struck out for being unconstitutional. That's why we have the High Court has unlimited and exclusive jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution, because that is the first stop that we are. So I'm not cherry picking. And when we teach students in law at university, we actually teach them that you don't read a line, you must do what we call cross-referencing. So it is, the thread is in, there is nowhere the president has powers outside the Constitution. All power is exercised in accordance to the Constitution.
On the same note,
I'd like
on
to
the same argument,
yes.
when you say in accordance with this Constitution, that is now where I have a problem with the ruling given by the High Court, because they never looked at other very important section of the Constitution. For example, Article 1(2), that says it is either the people exercising their sovereign powers directly or through the democratically elected people. The bill came to National Assembly. It was overwhelmingly endorsed by the National Assembly. It went to the Senate. It was overwhelmingly endorsed by the Senate. Then 5 people sitting, judges, they rubbished all that and said this is unconstitutional. So when we say in accordance with this Constitution, did they not see Article 1(2) of the Constitution?
I think as we settle this matter, and I think I owe it to Kenyans. No, but I owe it to Kenyans to inform Kenyans that when we talk about our elected representatives, that power of the people is exercised to the elected representatives. Again, the elected representatives can only do that on behalf of the people they represent in accordance to the Constitution. That's why I took the oath of office when I was sworn in as Member of Parliament for Uasin Gishu County. So it is clear there is no power outside the Constitution.
Okay, allow me to let that rest, as we, the case is supposed to start at 9 and run until Friday, and probably we'll call you back here next week or any other week so that you can see what happened. Let me talk about the elections. Now that you've talked about the timelines, the Constitution and all that, the court timelines on how the case might go. The question is, are we ready, or is the BBI enough reason for us to postpone election? Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa.
Well, I don't support postponement of election. And
because according to her, it might spill over sometimes next year.
For me as an individual, I don't support postponement of election, because there is no reason at all. Because even the Constitution says the circumstances of postponing election is only during war. What war is there in this country to postpone the election? When you say corona is not a war. Corona is a pandemic, and we have seen countries which have conducted election, including America, which was one of the epicenters of this pandemic. They have been able to conduct election, and they now have a president, Joe Biden. So I don't think there is any good or valid reason to postpone the election. And I think we must have election on the 9th of August, 2022.
Yes. Mheshimiwa, some people said, for example, Kotubos, Francis Atwoli, said a while ago that if we don't get the correct, ruling at the High Court, at the Court of Appeal, then the whole election of 2022 might go for another 2 years. Do you agree with that?
That's a joke. I don't speak like a pedestrian.
Right.
I'm a lawyer. I know the rule of law. I know when the Constitution is very clear what can cause the postponement of constitutions. So what is happening now, those are just threats, empty threats to Kenyans, and almost an empty threat to the judiciary. I think when the judges make their decision, they are not thinking. If you read that judgment, every line of its determination said which law they relied on, and not just the law. When we argue a case in court, you use the law, you use precedents from Kenya, precedents from other Commonwealth countries, and scholarly works, and writings, and teachings, etc. It's like when a brain surgeon wants to operate, there are certain teachings that they are given at the medical school of the manner in which you must navigate to get to a certain part of the brain. So it's similar in law. It is not something that you say just because you feel bad about it, you want to attack it. I think that's an empty threat. There is no way there's no way in the law that says if BBI is not passed, then we won't have elections. Also, remember that this BBI, whatever it has, what is the urgency? You can always have you can still have the process or the amendments after the elections. What is the urgency that must happen before elections? Because what is the magic bullet here that prevents it? So if they are genuine, that they believe that these are genuine constitutional amendments, you can amend the constitution throughout for the next 10 years. Nobody's stopping you. The last constitution took us 20 years to negotiate it. So there is no rush at all. At the moment, we have critical things. We have an election coming, that's one. We have a pandemic that is facing this country. We have serious economic hardship among everybody in Kenya, and those are the things that we should be focusing on. I don't think BBI is a priority at all. But let's wait for what the decision of the Court of Appeal will be. And it's a country that cannot buy vaccines, but they want to run 2 major elections in 1 year. I mean, it's a joke. It's like a parent going to buy a Mercedes-Benz when their children are starving.
Yes. Okay. And Mheshimiwa, in terms of the timelines, we are moving today. The court starts the hearings today. And if it spills over to sometimes next year, and so what if it doesn't go through the BBI, the proposal, if it's quashed by the Court of Appeal, then they go to the Supreme Court?
I must be very clear to you that our side, the supporters of BBI, including myself, we are not desperate. We will allow the law to take its course. That's why we went to court to appeal. We went to court to appeal because we understand the law. We appreciate that the legal process must take its course. So we will go to court, argue our points, why the court made an error in trying to make some of the decisions they made. And if they agree with us, then we will be ready to kickstart the process of BBI. Start from where we stopped. And if they go to Supreme Court, which I know they are going to go to the Supreme Court, just to delay the process, well and good, we will go there and fight. But what is important is you have clearly seen the way our brothers and sisters on the other side have vigorously fought this BBI process. And you know, there are a lot of things, very good things in BBI. For example, the proposal to increase revenue allocation to counties from 15% to 35%. I think that's something good that will even benefit to us in Gishu County, where my good friend Gladys comes from. We have proposals there, for example, proposals to empower youth. We have proposals to establish World Development Fund and many other good proposals, even to ring fence CDF in the constitution of this country. CDF has done pretty well for Kenyans across the country. So one of the things I would be wanting our competitors on the other side is to tell Kenyans how are they going to get these good things done. Because they are fighting it vigorously, but they are not giving us options. They are not telling us, okay, BBI has failed, but this is how we intend to increase revenue allocation to counties.
Yes.
This is how we intend to integrate CDF in the constitution.
All right.
They are not telling us.
This is a very
and I
simple-
think that is where the problem is. They are just fighting because of politics. They are not fighting because they want Kenyans to benefit. And we saw even in 2010, the same people who fought the 2010 constitution
I think I need to have a
vigorously
chance to-
ended up being beneficiaries of the same constitution.
Why don't you offer solutions according to him?
I've offered a solution.
Yes.
You remember we say that we give the counties 35, we want to increase to 35% of revenue collected. My solution is increase the revenue collection by growing the economy. So that even if I tell you I'm giving you 1%, it's 1% of a substantial amount that can be more than the 35. Remember, 35% of zero is zero. So if you have no revenue to share, because the economy hasn't grown, whether you tell me 100% or 50%, it's a zero-sum game. The point is increase the revenue. It's like telling me that when you increase the constituencies, there'll be more money to the counties. Remember, at the moment, they are getting 2.5% of revenue collected, divided by 290 constituencies. So now, if you increase the constituencies to 300, you'll be dividing the same 2.5% divided by 300. Is that more or less?
Yes.
It's less. So who are they kidding? You know, you can go and tell people somewhere else that those arguments that don't make sense. So we are keen on the economy. We have a formula and an ideology of how to grow the economy. The bottom-up approach, which has been adopted in America, is being fine-tuned now by Joe Biden. It was adopted in 2019 by Pakistan. It was adopted by China. That's why they are where they are today. It was adopted in Japan, and that's why they are where they are today. It has been adopted by Botswana in their budgeting.
How would that model work here in Kenya, Mheshimiwa? We simply have.
Let me tell you. Okay, that model.
He's not allowed
Let her
me to
finish.
speak.
Okay, in 1
so
minute.
what I was saying is that we need to get that. When they talk about youth empowerment, already we have the Youth Development Fund. It failed. Are you telling me because now you've put it in the constitution that there's going to be change? Change does not, the economy does not grow because you have made a constitutional amendment. The economy grows because of prudent fiscal and budgeting and planning. And we know the countries that have achieved equality and shared prosperity is because of the discipline, fiscal discipline, and clear economic focused and targeted economic growth that makes the economy grow. And once the economy grows, whether I tell you it's 35 or 1%, because if let's say we are raising 100,000 at the moment, so you can tell me 35% of 100,000. But if I grow the economy to a million, then imagine that even if I tell you 10% of a million, it's more than 35% of 100,000.
Somebody would argue that
so
the bottom up.
This is a sales game that they are selling to people who don't think deeply. I am thinking deeply, and I have made it my responsibility as a representative of Uasin Gishu, and also someone who aspires to make sure that we put it on the Word Development Fund. Let's not kid anybody. More than 50% of the counties already implemented Word Development Fund.
Let me tell you one thing. I can only say our sisters and brothers on the UDA side. We will not call them Tanga-Tanga.
I'm not speaking as UDA, by the way. I'm speaking of things
they came out clearly and declared the UDA. So the UDA side, they are confused. Because one, they are telling us about bottom-up approach. And they're in government. They're in government. The deputy president is in government. He has not resigned. His people, friends, he appointed as the PSAs, as the CSAs, as the directors of parastatals are in government. What are they doing about bottom-up approach? Number two, if they felt that the BBI was not going to address the issues, they had an opportunity, because they say they have numbers, to start their own constitution amendment process and do it in the right manner, and have the good things they think are in BBI and the good things they think about bottom up, because bottom up approach will still need some constitution amendments and then get it to Kenyans. But you see now, spending their resources, their time to fight BBI day and night, I don't think it's productive. As I said earlier, BBI, if I look at it politically, it was going to benefit their side more than our side.
Tell me how. How?
One, because you are getting more constituencies than us. Nyanza and Western and Coast, we are getting less constituencies. But our people are ready to support this BBI process. Two, the expanded executive favors Deputy President more than it favors Raila. Without BBI, I don't know how he's even going to appoint his running mate. Is he going to pick people like Moses Kuria, people like Rigathi, people like Kimani Ichung'wah? The expanded executive will make him attract serious kingpins in this country, like Kalonzo Musyoka, like Musalia Mudavadi and the others. But minus BBI, who in his camp has the profile to be even a deputy president? Khalware. Is he going to appoint Khalware? Is he going to appoint Kimani Ichung'wah or who? So you have a much bigger problem without BBI than us.
No, I think first of all, to say that BBI was going to benefit us, that is a benefit you imagine in your head.
No. The constituency, look at the number of constituencies, Gladys.
Hold on, can I speak for my own people?
Yes.
Yeah, you have no authority to speak on their behalf. Because let me tell you something. First of all, in our agenda and ideology as the Hustler movement, we have obliterated in our heads the issue called kingpins. We have nothing called kingpins, or tribal kingpins. Our agenda is to mobilize Kenyans from all regions, from all walks of life. You don't have to be so and so son. So allow me to finish speaking. We have a different movement that we are getting people from all walks of life whose one agenda is to change their lives, to improve the economy and put money in their pockets, that everybody can afford education for their child, that nobody will die from failure to raise money to go into a hospital. That is the agenda that we are running. We do not ascribe to your methodology of kingpin.
Let me interject you briefly.
Lastly,
Somebody
the people of Uasin Gishu never asked for 3 constituencies. And in any case, I've never had constituencies that are divided in a red carpeted boardroom. Constituencies, I have been involved in the last constituency making process. The way you develop constituencies is you do it from the polling station level. You first do mass voter registration. Then you decide how many people are in every polling station. Once they hit the quota system number that is required, then you say it needs to increase to more wards. Once it increases to more wards, you then say that gives birth to constituencies. And then obviously it's automatic that they are housed in certain counties. So believe me, I do not want to be debating about things that we know for a fact. And so the people of Uasin Gishu never asked for those constituencies. And when you bring the constituencies, they are going where? Which polling station? And how many people have increased in those polling stations for you to want to give it to them? So the expanded executive, and we don't believe that 5 people, kingpins, are going to satisfy Kenyans.
You know, Tanga.
In 10 seconds, please. It's time.
They are living in their own world. They are living in their own world by talking about, we are going to be do this and this. The reality of politics in this country is that politics in this country is tribal.
Your reality.
You will need to look for tribal kingpins to succeed. You cannot be in government for 10 years and then in your last 2 years you come and tell us
in 2021 they're talking about tribe.
Bottom-up
Shame
approach.
on you, because that's
but that is the reality. That is the reality.
Talking about
that is the reality.
Allow me to say this, that this conversation will have to continue next week. This conversation will have to continue next week. And of course we have, the Court of Appeal case starting right now, and we want to have it live for the people of Uasin Gishu and Vihiga to watch what is happening. And of course, thank you so much. That is Gladys Boss-Sholei, who is the Uasin Gishu woman representative, and of course Godfrey Osotsi, who is member of parliament under ANC. I said it was a disclaimer. For politicians, 1 hour is like 1 minute. You see, It's all gone, but I promise that we'll be back here sometimes next
We
week.
will.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we promised you that we are going to have a health segment, okay? We want to talk about health in terms of dental health, how it affects all of us. We will have to do that tomorrow in the morning because we have to go to the Court of Appeal. This is something that's affecting all of us, and even on your screen you can see all is set and ready for the hearing to begin. Okay, so that is that. Thank you for joining us. My name is Victor Lo. Let's have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Kuna vitu zingine sio bazu true, kama kuchokoza dem sio bazu true.
Well, Mr. Yu, this is a travel visa. This doesn't allow you to work in the United States. By law, you're going to receive a fine, and you can no longer stay in this country.
It's called strategy. Not playing dirty. Dirty? I don't think so.
Mr. Hugo, are you sure? Absolutely sure. You want a jury trial?
One last chance. He's asking if you're sure.
Kuwa Bazu True. Stop gender-based violence.
This is where it all began. As the mother of broadcasting in Kenya, you can trust KBC to bring you authentic news and programs to your living room. As KBC, we take pride in our unrivaled heritage as Kenya's trusted national broadcaster. Commanding over 92% digital television signal coverage of our country, 23 radio services that cut across our entire language spectrum, a national, regional and international digital presence backed by the most experienced and top-notch broadcast professionals in the industry.
A very good evening to you.
The new look Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is truly ahead of the pack. Turn to the mother of broadcasting in Kenya for stories that resonate with our identity, our aspirations as a people united